2024 in books. Antonia did her 10 favorite books. Igor did his top books, top comics, top events, series, and movies. I'm not gonna go that far. This video will only cover my favorite reads. So these are the books I gave 5 stars, like 5.0. The 5-star books, the obvious best of the best. And I have 12 of them, which I'm really happy with. It's funny because like last year I thought my reading choices were a lot weaker than 2023 or 2022, but it turns out I did have quite a few books I really, really loved. So I guess it was a good year after all. I'm getting the books. First novel of the year. Not the first novel of the year, but the first 5-star novel of the year is My Best Friend Exorcism by Grady Hendrix. And I remember I learned about this book in one of Antonia's recommendations. Was it from the podcast or a video or a post? I do not remember. I think it's from the podcast because, or maybe a presentation, a video, because they were talking about how the cover looked like a VHS tape, which is genius. And I saw it on Sferakon 2023 in one of the bookshop stands, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna get this and I'm gonna read it. Antonia says it's good. I think Igor might have read it as well. I'm not sure. So yeah, this was amazing. It's filled with those traditional 80s American vibes and everything. The story is just amazing and I really loved every single part of it. This story is so layered. There's just so much stuff going on. The story of the two friends and what they go throughout high school is just, it's it's horrible, but also so heartwarming, and I love how their friendship was portrayed. And I really do think this is a beautiful book and a beautiful horror. If you want to read it, just check the content warnings and trigger warnings, because this book was heavy, but in a good way. I really can't recommend it enough. I'm really happy I picked it up and I can have it on my shelves. Are you gonna be surprised by the next book? Because I think nobody is. Harrow the Ninth. And since I finished a whole series this year, also Nona the Ninth. Yay! Shout out to my boyfriend who financed the series and my obsession with it. So thank you for the books. What do I even say about this? Do I have to say something about these books? Because I think you've heard enough. And you know what? I'm gonna say something controversial. You know how everybody is losing their minds over Harrow? Because everyone is talking about how the second person point of view is really difficult to get through. It isn't. I was so confused by all the comments online who were saying like, I can't get it. I don't know what's happening. I don't know what happened in the end. Who's the narrator? And I'm like, it's so well constructed. You don't even notice it's written in second person, first of all. Second of all, the way it's handled is done, I would say pretty well. I would say perfectly. It's a specific cup of tea, and it's not meant for everybody. A lot of people can't digest it. I get it. I like this book. I like the way it's written. I like the second person. I love how it's done. Please go through it. If you liked the first book, I know the first book is totally different from this one. This one is very slow. It's very heavy. Let's say Gideon was about trauma. Harrow is about the grief and loss and depression that comes afterward. And Nona is about recovery. Oh, also, I love Nona. I love that it was a slice of life in an apocalyptic setting. We love that for her. She was so cute. And the whole story is so well done, and there's so much going on in it. Can't even begin to explain the plot of these books because it doesn't make sense. It makes sense, but it doesn't make sense for me to explain it to you because I don't even know what's going on 90% of the time, but then again I do. Read it for yourselves and, make your own conclusions. I just want to say I love them both. And I love Gideon the Ninth too, and I'm gonna reread it. I am patiently waiting for A Leg to the Ninth I know everyone's like losing their minds over it, but we're just gonna have to wait, you know, it's not that difficult. There's too many other books we can just like sit and read in the meantime. There's so many great authors that are publishing their books in the meantime. I would rather Tamsyn Muir takes her time on it and just enjoys the process of writing it and finishing this awesome series, because it's a great achievement. If I'm good at something, it's waiting. And so yeah, I'm not frustrated about it. I'm not worried about it. We'll get it. When they announce Electo, I'll probably start rereading it. So I'm very excited for that. Continuing onward. I don't have this book with me. It's at my boyfriend's place because all my Alice Hoffman books are there. I'm gonna put it right here so you can see it. So, Blue Diary by Alice Hoffman. I got this book on Interliber 2023. I really love Alice Hoffman's books. I know most of you probably know her because of her fantasy works, but our publisher here, Algorithm, released translations of 5 of her novels, and back on Interliber 2022 I decided to purchase 2 of them because these are editions that they do not print anymore, so they're pretty cheap and it probably locked in a storage somewhere, and I decided to purchase them. I like contemporary fiction, like to read it occasionally. I do focus more on speculative fiction nowadays, but contemporary fiction really does have a special place in my heart. And Alice Hoffman is definitely one of my favorite writers in this genre. Is it a genre or is it genreless? I don't know. Call it what you will. She writes these beautiful life stories, and I liked the 2 books I read before this one, and they were good. They were really good. I was missing something from them, a little something, you know, to make them 5-star reads. They were a solid 4. But this one, oh my god. So, what to say about the Blue Diary? It's about a woman whose husband gets arrested by the police, and then they suddenly, you know, start to unravel bits of his past. There's so many good themes this book focuses on. It has like that specific feel of a small town where something bad happens and everyone's, you know, losing their minds. It's got something special, and it's got, oh my god, it deals with so much. No, like an easy 5-star. Funnily enough, another Alice, but this one, it's Oseman. Did I say that correctly? Oseman? Oseman. Okay. Let's say I did. Heartstopper, Volume 2. I borrowed this from my boyfriend at the beginning of the year, and I totally forgot to keep reading with the rest of the volumes because he has them home. This is also like a slice of life story. Very, very cutesy contemporary read, a comic about 2 boys falling in love. And I wouldn't say it's a high school drama. There's barely any drama in it. I wouldn't say it's a guilty pleasure. It's just a pleasure. You know, you read through it and you feel good, and it's cute, it's light, it's... yeah, so... If you've read anything by Alice Oseman, you know how she writes, and you know the type of books she makes and type of comics she made. So yeah, you can't go wrong with Heartstopper if you need some, you know, cutesy high school love stories. Yeah, so I really like this one. Okay, so I really love this book. And I keep talking about it, and I think it deserves all the love I have for it. And so you'll have to sit through another, I wouldn't say rant. It's not ranting. It's just pure love for this book. It's Eyes, Guts, Throat Bones by Moïra Fowley-Doyle, which is a book of short horror stories I got very randomly in one of Ljubljana's bookstores. Me and my boyfriend were going on a trip, and we, of course, stopped at Ljubljana because we love Ljubljana, okay? And there's a bookstore near the center which has so much more books than any of our bookstores in Zagreb. At least it has some titles which I don't see in Zagreb's bookstores. Topic for another discussion, totally meaningless to this conversation. So let's get back to this. So I picked this book up at the horror section, and I was completely blown away by the blurb on the back and the cover which is like gorgeous, and I've never heard about this author before. I was like, okay, it's a paperback, it's not that expensive, and we're here to like buy a few books that we couldn't find somewhere else. I might as well get like a souvenir from our trip. I love short story collections. I've read a lot of them, but this book it's beautiful. It's every single story is beautiful in its own way and has something different to offer. The author they have such a specific style and such a beautifully lyrical prose, and I don't know how else to describe it. It's both gruesome and loving, and it mostly focuses on women and their experiences, but it's also on queerness, on the relationship we have with our bodies and change and relationships and everything. And I really hope this author provides more such books. I know they're working on something else. I follow them on Instagram, and I think they're working on a novel, which is I'm definitely gonna check out. But I also hope they continue working on like short horror stories, if that's their gist, you know. I'm not pushing anyone to do anything, but I'll definitely be looking into it because like this book is really beautiful. It hit all the right marks for me, so I'm really happy I got this book, and I'm really glad I decided to pick this book up from the bookstore and give it a chance. That's it, you know. Beautiful, beautiful. Next up, we have a few ebooks that I read this year and which are in my 5-star reads. I read Bye Bye Babaroga from Ivana Geček, which is her debut novella. I've read many of Ivana's stories, and we've had a few of them published in Posljednja Kuća, and I knew I liked her writing and I knew what she was capable of, but I was still blown away by this. This novella really offers so much for such a relatively short work of fiction, but I felt like it was so much longer in a good sense. Characters are so well fleshed out. I loved the setting, which was on Kalnik, one of Croatia's very picturesque hiking spots. So if you're not familiar with any of Geček's works, she really likes to write corporate horror, which is a niche I would never think I would enjoy, maybe because, you know, you hear corporate, so it's like boring, but Ivana's take on corporate horror is so good. She fills it with black humor and everything, which makes it very digestible and very interesting. I'm not doing this work and I'm justice with my words, but I just want to say this novella is so good, and it follows two sides of the story which masterfully complement each other, make a complete work which is so good and which was so fun. If you're looking for new and interesting novellas or like horror in general, you can't go wrong with this one. Okay, the next book is another collection of short stories. This one from Antonija Mežnarić and her latest anthology called The Lost Treasure Hunters and Other Tales of Folk Terror. This collection features 4 stories, if I'm correct, 1 novella, 1 novelette, and 2 short stories. First, titular novella. And it's about lost treasure hunters that go to an expedition on Velebit and experience some stuff. And it's weird. That one, the novella, is written in an epistolary form. Am I pronouncing this correct? I hope so. It's a bunch of materials, gathered materials, which are presented by one of the characters' sister. She posts all of them to be visible for the viewers. I don't know, it's so weird, but in a good way, Remember those scenes from Annihilation, if you've seen it, where you lose sight and mind and everything, and any feeling of time when the characters are going through the shimmer. Yeah, the shimmer. Oh my god, I'm so smart. I remembered how it's called. So when the characters are going through the shimmer and they don't remember anything, they can't keep up with their own experiences and memories, That's the Lost Treasure Hunters. And I really love the way Antonia manages to realize this idea. It's very hallucinogenic. Even though I liked all the stories, my favorite one was To Stop the Screaming, which is about a woman who has to live with her mother-in-law and her new baby and her husband. And it's a very toxic household, and the only thing she wants to do is to stop the screaming, to stop the noise, and to get some peace and quiet. That was my favorite one, and it's my favorite for a lot of reasons, but definitely because of the one specific visual when they're cooking. And they're cooking, and Antonia cooked on this story, and it's very good, and I really liked what it's about, the themes, and the way she executed the story. Executed. You can't go wrong with folk horror if you choose to read anything by Antonija Mežnarić, and I really recommend this collection as well. I think it experiments with some things that are done really well. It's a really cool collection, something a little bit different and something a little bit unique among, all the other horror books out there. So yeah, if you're looking for something new, this might be it. So yeah, this video is about my favorite books of the year, but it's also about one favorite project of the year, which is this one! Posljednja Kuća u Šenoinoj ulici, which was edited by Antonija Mežnarić, and it features 8 stories from 8 different authors. One of them is sitting right here. Hello. The idea of haunted houses in Croatia is an amazing one because we are struggling here. We are struggling with the housing markets and inheritance. Yes, old houses run down, forgotten, and those which are fought over for generations. A little bit of everything can be found in this collection. It is currently only in Croatian. Looks at Antonia. Am I a little bit biased by talking about a book I actually have my work featured in? Maybe. Then again, I really loved every single story in this collection because every author decided to approach this theme differently. It's a collection which features so many different themes and ideas. You think most of it would be the same. No, every single one is unique, and I love that because you have 8 people who decided to approach this theme in their own way, which is amazing. It offers a little something for everyone, and I really loved this collection. I loved working on it. I loved all the other stories from the other authors. It holds a special place in my heart. Moving on. Here's the thing. There's a few things I like in romance. It has to be a slow burn. It works for me. What also works for me is hurt/comfort. How do you say this aloud? When one character is hurting and the other one is comforting them, and it's all very angsty and generally depressing, or, you get it. You get it. Those who know what I'm talking about get me. These two things make or break a romance story for me. And Izazov, krvi did it so well. Well. Like, I really love the story. So, I don't know. And it's got snow. It's got Gorski Kotar. It's got tension and angst and everything. And it's got very strong plot with a very interesting idea. The building of the train tracks through Fužine, through Gorski Kotar. I can't believe it's so thin. First off, I can't believe it's so thin. Not because it felt short, but because it's so fleshed out. It offered me so much that I can't believe it's so small. Like, this book was an experience for me, and I really loved every single part of it. It's slow and it concentrates on a few characters. It could definitely be like a bigger novel, but Vesna manages to approach this subject and this idea so well. I actually didn't think anything was missing from this. I was completely enamored by the building of the relationships and the characters and everything. If there was a checklist For all the things that a good book has to have, for my personal experience, this one ticked all of them. It's no wonder I really loved it, and I'm glad I got to have it, and yeah, I'll probably reread it a few times more because I just love the characters. I love their romance. And is there anything else that I can say about this? I don't know. I don't know how to do it justice. It's such a good story. It's such a heartwarming story. I'm gonna stop talking about it. But yeah, I really, 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 really like this book. I was already editing. I was at the end of editing, and then I saw that I had 11 books instead of 12, and something was off. So I checked my story graph, and I'm checking for the books I didn't review, and yeah, I'm missing one, and it's Piranesi by Susanna Clarke. This was a purchase on Interliber 2024, and it is a book I've been thinking about getting for a while now, and I wanted to get it on Interliber because it would be on a discount, and I'm glad I did because it was truly amazing. A lot of my friends read this book, so I knew I was getting into something good, but I didn't expect it to be so compelling. We have Piranesi, who lives in this strange structure he calls a house, and it's a huge labyrinth of connected rooms that have a certain Greek architecture feel about them. And he explores this space. This book is actually written as his diary. I can't tell you much about this book because it's a mystery and you have to keep reading in order to unravel the truth about it. But it's gorgeously done and there's a lot to love about it. It does start very, very slow, so you have to have some faith into it. You have to keep on reading through the slower, a little bit boring bits where Piranesi is actually trying to describe his surroundings for the reader, but the end is very rewarding, and I love the way Clarke manages to explore Piranesi's transformation from a person that is very naive to someone who actually discovers who they are. And I really, really recommend it. It's very unique. As I said, you have to have some faith in it, but it's worth a try. And it's no wonder a lot of people like this book, and I'm glad I finally gave it a chance because this is definitely one of my favorite reads of 2024. So yeah, it's no wonder I gave it 5 stars. Last but not least, I'm too lazy to get the book myself. It's somewhere in the back of my bookshelves, and I keep another row of books in front of it, and those are comics. Those are my manga, and they're stacked up on top of each other, and I'm so lazy. And I don't want to get them off. So you'll get the book here. Brodski dnevnik Korine Hunjak by Korin Hunjak. This is a collection of short stories, but in the form of short comics. And it's a sort of autobiographical portrayal of Korin's experience throughout the lockdown, featured in this edition. And each comic has its own special style, and each comic deals with another topic. These topics are very distinct and they range from personal to social, but they're so beautiful, and each one offers something else and something so gorgeous to the viewer. I just loved every single one. I laughed on so many stories. They were so cute. There were so many cute stories, but also they were so deep and emotional and challenging, and I really, really loved every single comic. You can't go wrong with anything Korin draws or writes. Their comics are just amazing. I really love how they express themselves, and I really, really am glad I got this book during their promotional presentation on Recon 2023. I just forgot I had it and only read it at the end of the year of 2024. This is a gorgeous comic collection, and it offers so much. So yeah, I loved this book, and it's an easy 5-star. Easy, done. Okay, I'm out of memory, I'm out of the sun, so I have no more light to work with, but we're done. And this was incredibly difficult for me. And no wonder I don't do this more often. So, I don't know what else to tell you. These were my top 12 books of the year, my 5-star reads, and you can't go wrong with choosing any of them for your next read. And if you don't like them, you don't have taste. No, I'm kidding. Only partially. Okay, to each their own. But these were my personal faves of 2024, and I'm really glad I got to read them. They were an amazing experience. Each one of them was chef kiss. So yeah, I hope you find some new books among them which might find their way to your TBR. If not, you can just go ahead and recommend some of your faves from 2024 people should know more about. And yeah, that would be it. You have all my links down below, so on my socials, and you can like and subscribe if you want. And yeah, that will be all. Thank you for watching. Bye. I wonder how much I'll have to cut from this. I think it's gonna be a lot. I know among other things, Among Us. Why do I feel like I'm like I'm on an oral exam? Ovo će bit koma za uređivanje. Oh.